childhood still controls every choice. Carl Jung. You think you're making decisions. You think your adult self is in control, choosing your job, your relationships, your values. But look deeper. The truth is far more haunting. You're not acting from today. You're echoing from yesterday. Every time you flinch at confrontation, every time you fear abandonment, every time you sabotage your own success, that's not you now. That's a child inside you, still trying to survive, still trying to feel safe. Carl Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Your childhood isn't behind you, it's inside you. And it's not just influencing your choices, it's controlling them. You learned the rules before you could speak them. You learned what earned love and what triggered rejection. You learned when to smile, when to shrink, when to disappear. And those lessons, you never outgrew them. They became your programming. As an adult, you think you're independent. But most of your choices are echoes of old survival strategies. You overachieve not because you love success, but because you're afraid of being invisible. You people please not because you're kind, but because you learned early that peace means safety. The child in you isn't gone. He's just wearing a grown-up mask. And that mask runs the show until you take it off, consciously. You don't choose your patterns, you repeat them. That relationship you keep chasing, it mirrors the attention you craved and never received. That anger that flares up when someone questions you. It's the defense of a child who was constantly doubted. Every trigger is a trail, leading back to a moment you've buried, not healed. Your wounds may be decades old, but your reactions are fresh, because they were never truly processed. You learn to perform, to protect, to adapt, but you never learn to feel safe. And without safety, even your strength is a disguise, one that keeps you functional, but never truly free. The subconscious doesn't forget, it just reroutes. You think you've outgrown the pain because you don't cry about it anymore. But silence isn't healing, it's hiding. That overachievement, it's a distraction. That perfectionism, it's fear in disguise. You became what you thought would be loved, not what you truly are. And now, as an adult, every choice is filtered through that old lens. Will this keep me safe? Will this make me enough? But you were never supposed to live on guard. Hyper-independence isn't strength. It's what happens when no one shows up for you. So you became everyone for yourself. But even then, the child inside still whispers, waiting to be heard, not handled. You learned to predict storms before they arrived, not because you're psychic, but because chaos was your normal. You tuned into every shift in tone, every flicker of emotion in someone else's eyes. That wasn't intuition, it was survival. You became a master at reading rooms, fixing moods, anticipating needs. Not because you wanted to, but because you had to. And now, you still do it. At work, in relationships. You apologize before you're even blamed. You explain yourself before you're even questioned. Because somewhere inside, the child who once feared rejection still believes love must be earned, not simply received. You think you're in control, choosing jobs, partners, lifestyles. But so many of those choices aren't choices at all. They're reenactments, echoes. Your mind recreates familiar emotional landscapes, even if they're painful, just because they're familiar. That's why you date the same kind of person. fall into the same arguments, sabotage peace when things feel too calm. Your nervous system isn't seeking joy, it's seeking what it knows. And unless you confront the blueprint left by your childhood, you'll keep rebuilding the same house with different bricks, wondering why it always collapses the same way. The patterns aren't random, they're programmed. And until you name them, they own you. Maybe your need to please comes from a childhood where love was earned, not given. Maybe your silence in conflict comes from being punished every time you spoke up. These aren't quirks, they're survival codes. But what once kept you safe is now keeping you stuck. Healing starts when you look your history in the eye and say, I see you, but I'm not you anymore. It's not about blaming your parents. It's about reclaiming your agency. Because what you don't bring to light runs your life in the dark. You are not your wounds. You are not the echoes of a voice that told you you weren't enough. You are not the reaction to the chaos you grew up in. You are the awareness behind it all. And that awareness is power. Once you begin to see the pattern, you can rewire it. Once you recognize the emotional trigger, you can pause, breathe, and choose differently. Your childhood wrote the first chapter, but the pen is in your hand now. Every time you act with intention, not from habit, you rewrite the story. You stop being a product of your past and become the architect of your future. That is freedom. That is adulthood. That is healing.